Hello everyone, welcome back to Joko Yo. I'm Joey, and today we're going to talk about a man that most history books forgot, but the South, in its own strange way, never did. Before we get to it, I want to ask you something. Do you have an older relative, grandparent, great uncle, somebody from deep in the South who, when something goes wrong, says, "John Brown," under their breath, like a curse word, like it means something foul? Maybe you heard it your whole life and never thought twice about it. My grandmother would do that. "I'd be John Brown it," or "John Brown it, I'd be John Brown." You ever wonder why? If you don't know, then listen to some of the old folks before they die away. Yep, it's a thing. Because here's the thing. That's sort of a reflex. That instinct to spit that name out like a bad taste, that's not just an expression, that's a memory. That's a memory, a multi-generational memory. That's a region that got shaken to its core by one October night in 1859 and never fully let it go. Now, by the end of this episode, you're going to understand exactly where it came from. Now, you might know about John Brown and why it's a cuss word, maybe, but I don't know that you know the Johnston County connection. Surprise, it's Joko Yo. But to really understand the Harpers Ferry raid, you have to first understand a man the history books, really, they never mention. A saddler's son from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Picture Hay Street, Fayetteville, March 17, 1835. On Hay Street, where market wagons rumble past brickyard taverns and free black harness shops line the boardwalk, a second son enters the world. His father, Matthew Leary, crafts saddles for cotton planters and stagecoach lines. He was a free black saddler whose Irish grandfather fought under Nathaniel Greene at Guilford Courthouse. His mother, Julia, carries some Croatan, some African roots weaving deep into the Cape Fear soil. They named the child Lewis Sheridan Leary. Fayetteville in the 1830s hums with a paradox. 700 free black men and women, 10% of the city, vote in town elections. They own brickyards, barbershops, property, worship openly without fear. But 4 years earlier, Nat Turner's bloody rebellion 80 miles north in Southampton County, Virginia, killed 55 white, mostly slave owners. Panic swept Fayetteville. White mobs lynched 20 black men preemptively. Militia patrolled Hay Street. The state legislature banned free black preachers, literacy classes, insurrectionary gatherings, and every free black family had to register every year, post $500 bonds, and submit to curfews. Young Lewis grows up hammering brass buckles beside his father, but always under white eyes who are afraid of the next Nat Turner. By 1850, the census lists Lewis, 15, as a saddler at his father's shop, skilled hands, steady income. He gets married to Mary Sampson Patterson, starts a family. Fayetteville offers rare stability, a brick house, church pew, freedom even if it is fragile. But then 1850 had something else occur, something called the Fugitive Slave Act, and it changed everything. Federal slave catchers flood the city, targeting prosperous free black men and women like the Learys. One accusation's all it took, no trial even necessary. Free man walking Hay Street vanishes onto the auction block by noon. That happened a lot. Kidnappings spike. Fayetteville's free black population plummets from 11% to 7% as families flee to the north. Lewis watches neighbors disappear one by one. In 1857, the vice is beginning to tighten. Lewis is 22. He sells tools. He kisses Mary goodbye and boards the train to a town called Oberlin in Ohio. He's not fleeing, he's migrating. Free blacks nationwide head north as Southern laws begin to harden that much more. Oberlin was a utopian college town, abolitionist hotbed, and also one of the reasons why we have Oberlin Road in Raleigh. But Oberlin welcomes him. He reopens his saddle shop, but he's not just stitching leather. He meets a guy named John Anthony Copeland, another North Carolina free black man, son of Raleigh. He's a carpenter. They drill with the Oberlin Light Guard, rescue fugitive Adam Crosswhite from U.S. Marshals is storming Oberlin under that hated Fugitive Slave Act. Northern papers call it the Oberlin Rescue. Lewis escapes arrest, but Copeland does not forget him. In spring of 1859, a coded letter arrives from John Henry Kagi, secretary to Kansas militant John Brown. There's the name. Brown plans to seize Harpers Ferry Armory, arm enslaved Southerners, and spark rebellion from the Blue Ridge to the Gulf Coast. Most abolitionists call John Brown suicidal. Even Frederick Douglass refuses. Lewis, who was shaped by Nat Turner's echo, having to live under the terror of the Fugitive Act, got emboldened by the defiance of Oberlin, he signs on. In September, he sells everything. His newborn daughter is in Mary's arms. He tells her freedom for all or freedom for none. Trains north with Copeland, carrying cash, rifles, blades. Brown's provisional army, 22 men total, 5 black, trains 3 weeks on a Maryland farm, and Brown calls Lewis one of my best men. On October 16, midnight, Harpers Ferry. The armory falls fast because it doesn't have many guards. Telegraph lines are cut. Lewis, Copeland, Kagi seize Hall's rifle works. Townspeople were taken hostage. Brown split his already tiny force, which was a fatal error. By dawn, the Virginia militia encircles them. Kagi was killed swimming in the Shenandoah. Lewis and Copeland hold the rifle works door, rifles blazing as bullets tear through walls. And Marines under Colonel Robert Edward Lee storm in. Yeah, that's the same one. Brown was captured. Shields Green was bayoneted dead. Lewis takes 3 bullets in the doorway, refuses surrender, drags himself inside, and Marines find him 10 hours later dead at the age of 24. The final whisper to survivor Osborne Anderson, his last words, tell them it was worth it. This free black son of Saddler Matthew Leary, husband who could have stayed safe in Fayetteville's fragile freedom, maybe. Nat Turner's panic stripped his rights. Fugitive Slave Act made his family kidnapping targets. Oberlin made him a radical, but you could argue he already was. Harpers Ferry took his life. One of only 5 black men to stake everything on John Brown's raid. His cash armed him, his rifle held the line, and his blood made it a true American struggle, black and white together. Mary raised their children. Alton fought with the 54th Massachusetts in the Civil War, which is the subject of the movie Glory from the 80s. Granddaughter Olympia served a guy named John Langston. Lewis's kin carried abolition forward. What if there had been no Lewis Leary? Well, Brown's war chest empties without the cash that Mr. Leary brought. 4 other black raiders would waver because Leary talked them into it. Northern papers dismiss white fanaticism. Southern panic fizzles. Nat Turner's echo stays dormant. Fugitive Act terror continues unchecked. Abolition stays peaceful. Y'all, the Civil War could have been delayed or avoided if not for Lewis Leary. One Hay Street saddler tipped America toward emancipation. Textbooks glorify Brown, Douglas, Tubman, which they should. But the guy who was shaped by Turner's terror and slave catcher laws, who sold his life for theirs, he's invisible. But you know what? Not anymore. Lewis Sheridan Leary, Hay Street saddler who made Harpers Ferry a race war, and helped to, in his own small way, make America a free nation. And that's all, guys. Be good.